What if I told you that the ties between the US and some of its closest European allies are weakening? Stay tuned to discover the surprising reasons behind this geopolitical shift and the nations leading the way. Hello, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and timely topic: the 10 European nations that have distanced themselves from the United States in 2025. We'll explore the cultural, economic, and political factors contributing to this shift, all backed by facts and insights. Let's get started. Number 10. Turkey, straddling Europe and Asia, has redefined its geopolitical alignment in recent years. The country has prioritized strengthening relations with neighboring Middle Eastern and Asian countries. Ankara's stance on NATO operations has often diverged from Washington's goals, creating tensions. Turkey has invested heavily in developing its defense industry to reduce reliance on U.S. military support. Its acquisition of the Russian S-400 missile system marked a significant break from traditional alliances. The government has focused on becoming a major energy hub, leveraging its strategic location. Turkey's refusal to follow U.S. sanctions on Iran highlights its independent foreign policy. Its economic partnerships with China, Russia, and Gulf states have further diversified trade relations. Turkey has positioned itself as a leader in regional diplomacy, mediating in conflicts like the Ukraine crisis. The country has expanded cultural and educational exchanges with Asian nations, reducing U.S. influence. Tourism campaigns now target Middle Eastern and Asian markets more than Western countries. Domestic policies emphasize a nationalist agenda, resonating with citizens who favor reduced Western dependency. Turkey's balancing act between East and West signifies a bold shift in its geopolitical priorities. Number 9. Hungary has been gradually distancing itself from the U.S. due to its increasingly independent foreign policy. The country has focused on strengthening ties with Russia and China, which contrasts with Washington's global stance. Hungary's government has emphasized national sovereignty in decision-making, particularly regarding economic policies and trade agreements. Its refusal to accept certain NATO initiatives has also added to the growing divide. The country has prioritized regional cooperation within the EU, often opposing US-led proposals. Hungary's leadership has openly criticized American interference in European affairs, particularly in energy policies. Recent investments in renewable energy from Asian partners have further reduced dependency on the West. Budapest has limited U.S. military presence on its soil, signaling a shift in strategic priorities. This move has resonated with a domestic audience that favors a more independent Hungary. The government's stance on immigration policies has also clashed with U.S. and EU expectations. Hungary's booming tourism industry is now more focused on attracting visitors from non-Western countries. Its collaboration with China under the Belt and Road Initiative has opened up new economic opportunities. Hungary's cultural diplomacy highlights its rich history and traditions, moving away from US-influenced narratives. The nation is positioning itself as a key player in a multipolar world order, balancing relations with East and West. Number 8. Portugal has taken significant steps toward independence from US influence, focusing on EU collaboration. Lisbon has positioned itself as a green energy leader, attracting investments from European and Asian partners. The country's shift toward renewable energy has reduced reliance on U.S. oil and gas imports. Portugal has also strengthened its trade relations with Brazil and other Portuguese-speaking nations. The government has championed data privacy laws that often conflict with U.S. tech giants' policies. Portuguese tourism campaigns now target non-Western audiences, diversifying the economy. The country has invested heavily in tech startups, seeking partnerships outside U.S. tech ecosystems. Its neutral stance in global conflicts has further distanced Portugal from traditional U.S. positions. Lisbon has actively participated in EU-led defense initiatives, favoring European autonomy over NATO reliance. Public sentiment in Portugal increasingly supports policies aligned with EU values rather than U.S. interests. Portugal has deepened its ties with African nations, focusing on historical connections and economic cooperation. The country's efforts to strengthen its maritime economy have attracted investments from China. Portugal's balanced approach to global politics highlights its desire for reduced dependency on American policies. Number 7. Germany has been increasingly critical of U.S. trade and foreign policies, seeking greater European autonomy. Berlin's leadership in green energy and environmental policies contrasts with Washington's slower pace in climate action. The German government has invested heavily in fostering trade relations with Asian economies, including China and India. Germany's industrial policies now prioritize EU collaboration over transatlantic agreements. Frustration over US-imposed tariffs and sanctions has strained economic ties. Germany has spearheaded initiatives for a European defense system, reducing reliance on NATO. Berlin has also opposed U.S. policies on data privacy and tech monopolies, favoring stricter regulations. Public opinion in Germany often reflects disapproval of U.S. foreign interventions. The country has become a major advocate for EU sovereignty, challenging U.S. dominance in global affairs. Germany's automotive industry has shifted focus toward Asian markets, reducing dependency on American consumers. The government has increased cultural and educational exchanges within Europe, promoting regional unity. Germany's stance on digital transformation and AI policies aligns more closely with EU strategies. By emphasizing self-reliance, Germany is asserting itself as a leader in a multipolar world. Number 6. Austria, known for its neutrality, has been distancing itself from U.S. influence to strengthen European independence. Vienna has actively opposed U.S.-led military interventions, favoring diplomatic solutions. The Austrian government has prioritized regional collaboration within the EU, often clashing with U.S. policies. Austria has focused on renewable energy and sustainability, reducing reliance on U.S. fossil fuels. Its banking and financial sector policies often diverge from U.S.-endorsed global norms. Austria has deepened trade relations with Central and Eastern European nations, reducing dependency on transatlantic ties. The country has also expanded its partnerships with Asian markets, particularly in the tech sector. Public sentiment in Austria supports a more neutral stance in global conflicts, favoring diplomacy over military solutions. Vienna's cultural diplomacy highlights its European identity, moving away from US-dominated narratives. Austria's investments in green tourism have attracted visitors from diverse regions outside the US. The country has played a pivotal role in advocating for European digital sovereignty. Austria's leadership in promoting cultural and historical preservation strengthens its unique identity. By emphasizing neutrality and regional collaboration, Austria continues to reduce its dependency on American policies. Number 5. Belgium has increasingly focused on fostering a unified European identity, distancing itself from US influence. Brussels, as the EU headquarters, has been at the forefront of promoting EU-centric policies. The government has championed digital sovereignty, clashing with US tech giants over data privacy laws. Belgium has strengthened trade relations with African nations, leveraging historical connections for economic growth. Its focus on renewable energy aligns with European priorities rather than US fossil fuel interests. Belgium's refusal to support certain NATO missions reflects its stance on a more independent EU defense policy. The country has also criticized US foreign policy in the Middle East, advocating for diplomatic solutions. Public opinion in Belgium often leans toward reducing US influence in European politics. The government has invested heavily in green tech, attracting partnerships from Asian markets. Belgium's tourism campaigns now emphasize European heritage, targeting a broader global audience. Cultural programs in Belgium promote multilingualism and European integration over transatlantic ties. The country has become a leading voice in EU efforts to counter US economic dominance. By focusing on regional unity, Belgium continues to prioritize European autonomy in its policies. Number 4. Greece has been shifting its focus away from traditional US alliances and toward new economic partnerships. The country has prioritized its role in the Eastern Mediterranean, fostering closer ties with China and Russia. Major Chinese investments in Greek infrastructure, such as the port of Piraeus, have bolstered these relationships. Greece has increasingly advocated for EU-centric solutions, distancing itself from US-led initiatives. Athens has also challenged certain NATO policies, emphasizing a need for regional stability. Energy partnerships with Eastern nations have reduced Greece's reliance on US imports. The government's focus on tourism from Asia and the Middle East has diversified its revenue streams. Public opinion in Greece often criticizes US foreign policy, particularly regarding conflicts in the Middle East. Greece has expanded cultural and trade ties with neighboring Balkan nations, creating a stronger regional network. Its focus on green energy and sustainability aligns more with EU policies than US priorities. Athens has actively participated in the Belt and Road Initiative, deepening its ties with Beijing. Greece's historical and cultural pride has also played a role in seeking more independent global representation. By focusing on regional cooperation, Greece is carving a path toward greater autonomy from US influence. Number 3. Italy has shifted its focus toward stronger European and global partnerships, moving away from US influence. Rome's leadership in advocating for EU strategic autonomy highlights its desire for independence. Italy has strengthened trade ties with China and African nations, diversifying its economic partnerships. The government's investments in green energy align more closely with EU priorities than US interests. Italy has actively participated in the Belt and Road Initiative, signaling a closer relationship with Beijing. Public opinion in Italy increasingly favors policies that prioritize EU interests over US alliances. The Italian government has championed reforms in NATO, advocating for a balanced approach to defense. Italy's cultural diplomacy emphasizes its rich history and European identity, reducing reliance on transatlantic narratives. The country's tourism industry targets Asian and Middle Eastern markets, diversifying its visitor base. Rome has also focused on developing digital infrastructure, collaborating with European and Asian tech companies. Italy's agricultural policies now prioritize EU standards, moving away from US-driven practices. The government's neutral stance in global conflicts has further distanced it from Washington. By strengthening regional and global ties, Italy is redefining its role in international relations. Number 2. France has been a vocal advocate for European independence, challenging US dominance in global affairs. Paris has championed the concept of strategic autonomy, emphasizing EU-led defense initiatives. The French government has opposed certain NATO policies, prioritizing a Europe-first approach. France has strengthened economic ties with African nations, leveraging its historical connections. Public sentiment in France often criticizes US foreign interventions, favoring diplomatic solutions. The government has focused on developing green energy, reducing reliance on US fossil fuels. France's digital policies prioritize EU sovereignty, clashing with US tech giants over data privacy issues. Paris has also deepened trade relations with Asian markets, diversifying its economic partnerships. France's tourism campaigns highlight its cultural and historical heritage, attracting visitors from non-Western countries. The country has invested in green tech and AI, aligning with EU strategies over US priorities. French leadership in the EU has positioned it as a counterbalance to American influence. France's neutral stance in recent global conflicts reflects its commitment to diplomacy. By advocating for European autonomy, France continues to assert itself as a global leader. Number 1. Spain has focused on strengthening regional and global ties, distancing itself from US influence. Madrid has prioritized economic partnerships with Latin America, leveraging historical and cultural connections. The government has invested heavily in renewable energy, aligning with EU priorities over US interests. Spain's neutral stance on global conflicts reflects its commitment to diplomacy and peacebuilding. Public opinion in Spain often supports policies that prioritize EU values over US alliances. Madrid has championed reforms in digital policies, advocating for European sovereignty in tech regulation. The country's tourism industry now targets visitors from Asia and the Middle East, diversifying its audience. Spain has deepened trade relations with African nations, focusing on sustainable development. The government's investments in green infrastructure have attracted partnerships from Asian markets. Spain has also emphasized cultural diplomacy, highlighting its European and Mediterranean identity. The country's stance on NATO policies has often diverged from US expectations, favoring EU autonomy. Madrid's leadership in advocating for climate action positions it as a key EU player. By focusing on regional cooperation, Spain continues to reduce its dependency on American policies. There you have it, 10 European nations that have distanced themselves from the US in 2025. From economic shifts to cultural independence, these nations are shaping a new era of European autonomy. What do you think about this trend? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking content.